Hello viewers, Super GT here with some more kart racing for you. Now the last race we did at Clay Pigeon, the video very recently, was in the dry. You can see here the next day things have taken a turn for the worse. And it's your typical British weather, windy and rainy. So here we go then, this is the big day for me. These are the 3 heats, and then in the next video you're going to see the finals. And in the final, in the super final, we're going for that Ginetta Test Day prize. So there's a lot riding on this day today, and we start off here in the first, of course, of 3 heats, starting just behind championship leader Joe Holmes there in front, 13th on the grid, although the left side of the grid really doesn't get a good start, so we immediately jump up into 9th. And from here into turn 1, you see just how treacherous and raining it is and wet. The space opens up, and I'm just most certainly going to send it up the inside and go straight up into 5th place. Please do excuse raindrops and stuff. I did actually forget to bring my RacinX stuff, but it should clear itself throughout the race. Up the inside here, and it's really a case of just trying to find where the grip is, and it's not very easy to do that. It's actually a quite tricky circuit. I bump into the back of that guy, this other guy comes flying back up the inside, so I'm back into 5th after temporarily being 4th. So through this long right towards the final corner, and then you've got the final turn here. Very different, the track is so different when it rains compared to the dry. If you want a reference, if you didn't watch the previous video, I'll link it in the description. It was a 2-hour endurance race with Jimmy Broadbent, and we did it in the dry. So of course the track is very, very different in the dry. It's a very fast track in the dry, but when it rains, you can see just how different it is. You see how difficult it is. And I'm assuming there's going to be a million questions about why are we using slick tyres. I'll tell you why. Again, it's arrive and drive. There's a fleet of about 40 karts, and there's about 4 mechanics who would have to change all the tyres over and then change them back to slicks again when it gets dry. That would just raise the costs, and it would just increase the time of the event. So in this sense here, you just become the masters of trying to find the grip on slick tyres, and it's not easy. You can see there's a lot of understeer when you do it, so you're kind of turning in and waiting an eternity for the grip to activate before the car actually goes around the corner. At this point here, find ourselves in 3rd place, so good progress made so far through this fast sweeping left of Billy's blind. In the dry it's just easily flat out, but here's actually a really big challenge. You can almost take it flat out, but you have to be very, very brave and committed on the steering. Through the chicane, again flat out in the dry, but in the rain nowhere near flat out. You really have to be very careful. There's tyres on the apex which you don't want to touch. You get a penalty if you smash those out of the way. So gaining slowly on these 2 guys ahead who seem to be fighting now, just trying to wipe the visor. It's actually really difficult for visibility. Changed over to the clear visor, which will please Mr. Felipe Massa, as we got Rob Smedley to bring us out the white visor, otherwise I cannot see anything. So the guy in the lead just goes very wide. Typically the wide line often works in the rain, but it doesn't work there. And they're both going to get a slow exit. I'm going to go for the double overtake, 3rd to 1st, and now try to basically pull away from the pack behind. I go very wide into turn 1, just looking on the right hand side. You can see that guy poking into the right hand side of the screen, but I just get the line into the chicane, and now it's really a case of get your head down, use the human DRS and pull away from the group into this corner. You go deep, and then you you cut back a little bit. So I mean the main difference in the rain, the lines, is that you often go deep into the corner, then you come back for a straighter exit. So the kart likes to accelerate whilst going in a straight line. It accelerates quicker like that. So it's really about trying to prioritise your exit. That's where you really gain a lot of your time in the rain. And again, just trying to wipe the visor, as the visibility is very, very bad. So you got these, I mean, you can open your visor, but then you're going to get a face full of rubber and rain and whatever. It's not particularly pleasant. That will clear the fog that you get on your visor, but then you get all that stuff in your face, which is not ideal. And then you've got the rain on your visor, you've got the fog inside and outside. It's very difficult sometimes to kind of clear all this away, so visibility can become very difficult. It's one of the main problems actually. and of course it is a little bit darker when it starts raining. You see just how dark it is. But throughout the course of this video you will notice that the weather does change, the conditions do change as well, and it's really about adapting to those different conditions throughout. And I personally prefer fully wet or fully dry. When it starts doing half and half, when half the track's dry, half of it's wet, and it's just changing halfway through the race, that's what I find difficult. It's not normally one of my strengths, something I've got to definitely work upon. Well, you'll see that later on. So at this point here, lap 6 of 8, a couple of seconds ahead, or or about just over a second at this point of the guys behind. So we've pulled a gap, and as long as we can just lap consistently and smoothly, then we should be okay. So you can't quite see it on the camera there, as my actual vision is slightly wider than the camera. But just coming through some of the corners, you can just see in your peripheral vision where the guys are behind you, so you can just keep a slight marker on your progress, see exactly where the people are behind. And if someone is right on your tail, often you can hear them, you can hear that their engine is a bit closer. Then just taking a look over the shoulder there, just to check exactly where they are, and just keep tabs of their progress basically, just to make sure that they're not right within range to go for that overtaking manoeuvre. So deep into turn 1, lots of understeer again, coming back, going back to the left hand side for the chicane, committing to that curb, committing to the second one as best you can. You're not allowed to go over the curb on the right hand side there. You can touch the first bit of it, but if your two wheels go over the big sausage, then you can get penalised for that. So you just want to be really careful, just understand the track limits and make sure you try to get close to them, but you don't want to take too many risks, especially if you've got a nice margin at the end of the race, which we have here. There's not much point in pushing too much. It's really a case of just bringing the race home. So luckily some of these raindrops are just clearing out of the way. Once again, I kind of got caught off guard with this rain. I should really expect it in October or end of September in the UK, but I didn't bring my RacinX, which is that spray which clears rain repellent, if you like. So final lap, looking good so far in race number 1. So we have 3 races, 3 heats, and our grid slots average out to be the same as everyone else. So I've got a 13th, a 3rd, and I think it was 15th. So it doesn't sound like, it might have been 11th for the first one. No, 13th, 3rd, and 15th. I think that's what it is. Out of about 20 people. Well, this one's 16, but race 3 was 19. But it roughly averages out with everyone else, or it should average out exactly. So it is even. And luckily for me, all 3 of my starts were on the inside, which does help, of course. So that's it then. Race number 1 is going to be a victory. Sliding for this first corner, really good fun. You just kind of throw it in and then be committed on the power. You're almost power sliding through that first corner. And we pick up a victory in our first race.
Bye, mate.
Steve, I was chasing people. Yeah, you're right, mate.
Cool.
Okay, race number 2. This time we're starting 3rd on the grid. So the pole sitter there, just right in front of us. So I'm just going to move over to the right hand side so I can see his foot. So I can react to him going. I can just react to his pedal input and go. And into turn 1 we get the inside, and actually the leader just goes very, very wide into turn 1 and just opens up the inside. So you do kind of want to go wide there, but on lap 1 it's sometimes best just to cover the inside to make sure the people behind can't overtake. So immediately 3rd to 1st, it does actually help often starting 3rd. Sometimes, depending on the track, 3rd place is better than 2nd, as you can just, if you're just right on the tail of the leader, you can just kind of block the person in 2nd from getting in, and then you just go up the inside. And on this occasion that has worked. So again, it's really a case of just trying to pull away at this point here, get your head down. I always think back to Sebastian Vettel back in his Red Bull days when he would just, on lap 1, just break the DRS on that first lap. Just get out of range of everyone else and pull away as best he can and almost just do all the damage straight away. So we're going to skip ahead there because this race was, I mean, the footage was just me, you know, going around. There's no one else in front. We're in the lead. But something to note here as we get to the end of this race is lap 8 now of 8. You can see the changing conditions. You can see actually some bits of blue sky. The track is a little bit drier. I know it still looks very wet, but I can feel a little bit more grip. There's not quite a dry line forming just yet, but this is something you have to watch out for. So as soon as I get out of this race, I'm going to watch the other races, see how they perform. You watch the lap times come down in the other races as we cross the line for another first. So 2 firsts, but we have another start. It's going to be our furthest back start in the next one. So it's not going to be easy at all to win that 3rd race, but we shall see in a moment.
Hello, mate.
Start with the row nearest the track first. So we have row nearest the track is going first.
Steve?
Okay, here we are then. Now you can see, so there's probably about an hour time gap at least between that last race and this one. And you can see actually there are dry lines forming. So this is a fully mixed conditions race and it's going to be very difficult. I'd rather it was actually wet. But here we go then, 15th on the grid. Let's see what we can do then. Into turn 1, again on the inside, which really does help. You can see here, look how many people just drift very wide. I gain 4 or 5 positions, 5 positions up to 10th already, just by just kind of hooking up on the inside. Someone's spun out on the right hand side, getting another position up to 9th. But just being able to be on the inside, hooking it up, really does help. 3 abreast into the hairpin, not the best place to be. I was right on the edge, almost got pushed off. And we have to go very wide around here, just keeping 9th place. And again, just look at the colour of the tarmac. We've got that lighter grey shade now, as it has certainly dried out. Into here though, I'm up the inside, and I just don't get the grip, just kind of slows down. But I do get the move done, thankfully. Lose a bit of time. Through the final corner, it looks like it's pretty much dry. It's just very treacherous on the edge of the circuit. I didn't get a good run through there. This guy comes back past. This car seems to have a very good top end though, so I go back past him. You see just how dangerous that was. I slid pretty much across the entirety of the track from left to right as I just touched the curb, and the curbs are pretty treacherous when it's wet. Got a really good run here, and I was just thinking about that move, but I was kind of unsure about where the grip was, as you're kind of just looking to see which part of the tarmac is the lighter colour. Otherwise you don't really want to send it up the inside if you're on the wet stuff. And so that is really the important consideration here. Up the inside, and here just not quite getting the grip on the inside, as there's still a kind of a wet patch there. So you've got to be really careful with your overtakes. You've got to pick and choose the right places to do it. Otherwise you could just easily understeer wide. So through the fast sweeping corner of turn 1, Billy's blind into the right hander, and I'm finding it difficult here actually. I've made good progress on lap 1, started 15th, up in 7th at this point here. We need to really ideally get past this guy as quickly as possible. He's going to go defensive, and again not quite brave enough to go for that move, as the track was still wet on the inside. I lose a position from hesitation, and I go back up the inside of the pair of them. There is contact, and we're going to lose a position again. So it's all getting a little bit messy now. So this guy's back up the inside. So ultimately here I've lost a position, another position, down into 9th. So my reward for not making fast enough progress is that the people behind me are going to make progress on me instead. Around the outside of this guy for 8th, and we're just going to get that position, a tiny bit of contact, but we get the position done. 2 people spun out there, have to go to the inside. It's a bit like a Forza lobby at this point. Side by side through the chicane, shouldn't really do that, but he gets the move done. Normally best for one of us to back out. It was a hard one though, because he was slightly ahead. He was on the outside, but he was slightly ahead. So we both just committed to it and just went for it. Fair enough. Good racing though. We both gave each other the space. And you can see here just how difficult this is getting. I'm very wide and I'm losing position down into 9th. I was 7th a lap ago. And it just shows you in in Club 100, it is pretty ruthless. If you don't make progress, you're going backwards. You are going to just get overtaken very, very quickly. Yellow flag into turn 1. Someone is spun out on the side of the track, I think, somewhere. Well, there was some danger somewhere. Through the chicane then, big group of 4 of us here. Can we get a move done? Not quite. Don't have the speed here. Don't have the positioning. Guy ahead is going for a move. There was a kart spun out there on the corner. We move up a position. So not really by doing too much. We're gaining a couple of positions here. So these guys go completely all at it into this corner. Go up 3 positions. Don't quite get the run on the way out, and then just lose another 2. So I gain 3, lose 2 again. So this race is really going up and down at this point. So tucking into the slipstream. Can we get this move done here up into 6th place? Yes, we can. Are we going to be able to keep it into the first corner? No, not quite. As well, we can get the cut back here. So swapping positions every couple of seconds here. This is really quite a crazy race. It looks like Alex Pritchard up in front has actually managed to get that gap. So often when you're in a big group, you want to get to the front of the group, of course, but then you need to really just establish a gap so that the people in the group can't just immediately overtake you again. So Alex has done that. He's got that gap. I can't overtake from here unless it was mega lunge of the millennium. It's just not going to be possible to overtake him from this distance back. So we find ourselves in 6th place. At least by now the race has settled down. What a difficult race this was though. As I said earlier, mixed conditions just really is not my strength, and I'd rather it was just fully dry or fully wet, as I kind of just struggle to know exactly how much to push in these conditions. So we're going to move through this race. So the race really did settle down by about lap 5-6, as I was in 6th place here. There was a chance of gaining on Lenny Wood. So you can see the guy in the blue helmet. He goes very wide through the final turn, and that gives us 1 lap to try to hunt him down and get 1 extra position. We'll see if that's possible. So here we go then. I should be used to the track by now. You can see through there it's pretty much dry. There's still wet patches, but it's not enough to really affect your line. And through the chicane flat out now, it's just it's pretty much a dry circuit, but just with wet patches. You have to be very, very careful of them. If you get your wheels on them, you can just slide very well. I think that's what happened to Lenny Wood on that final corner on the last lap. So is there going to be a position gain here? Getting a bit better now for me at the end of this race as it turns pretty much to dry conditions. So Lenny went very wide on the last lap. He's actually taken the corner properly this time. So he's going to keep that position. As we come down to the finish line, turns out that the 2 guys ahead had penalties. So I got very lucky and I actually got classified as 4th place. So Lenny had a track limits penalty, Alex had a contact penalty, I think, so it's 4 places. So I actually went up to 4th. So 3 races there, 1st and 4th. That's going to put me on pole position for the next race, the heavyweight A final, which will be in the next video. So yet another Club 100 video completed. I handed this car into the mechanics as I felt like it didn't have good acceleration at the bottom and middle range. But that is the end of this one. Please do fire away any comments and questions you have in the comments below. I do hope you enjoyed it as always. Thank you again to all my supporters, channel members, patrons, and of course if you have a bit of a moment, check me out on Instagram and Twitter, which is linked in the description. I shall see you next time everyone. See you in the next video for the finals. I'll leave you with this big telling off.
Guys that are in that last race, just come over here please a minute. Well, guys, that's the worst race of the day. Too much contact, there's loads of penalties going out there. Also, a couple of incidents down the straight I saw people seeing someone put a move on them and moving over. One guy dropped 2 wheels on the grass down there. Well done that guy, I don't know who it was, but he managed to hold it. There's the potential for a very nasty accident, right? It's not very sporting when you look across at that speed and push someone over, alright? I don't want to see that happening again. You hold your line, whatever way, come down the straight, if you're in the middle of the track or to one side, that's absolutely fine, but you hold your line, you do not move over on another driver, alright? You need to clean this up, that race was way too much contact, alright? Thank you.